Well, how much of that is due to the intransigence of the political parties, and how much of that is due to the docility of the groups that are involved? Because ultimately, can't citizen pressure make an impact on how the parties make their decisions?
Sure, and I think all those things you just laid out are a problem, and that's the challenge, right? That is getting, one of the things that we do when we go out to states and we meet with these various stakeholders, women and youth, is that we're telling them that you need to devise a strategy, right? You just don't go up into the party and say we need more women. Great, everyone's going to clap and we're all going to go on. But what's the strategy? How are you taking advantage of the chaos that sometimes exists in the parties to get something that you want? Maybe there's a particular position that has been vacant for a while that no one sees as important, which is a great place for a woman to be in. So we're talking strategies. We're looking at ways to kind of deal with kind of the complex system that political parties run. But you also have to bring a voice to the table, right? You can't be, we can't allow money, right, to change our direction. If this is the way that we're going, then this is the way we have to continue. We can't allow a politician to come along and say, okay, fine, we'll give you this naira, just come along and clap and sing for us. That's where the line has to be drawn, right? There's more to this than the MCI. And really, I think it has to be a long-term game, right? We're not playing a short-term game. We want long-term benefits. And so that's where you have to really hit the parties at.
I'm just wondering, how big a threat, I mean, you've seen the previous elections, especially the ones recently conducted, the talk of vote buying and how, it's a new danger. But how big a threat is it? And are you reassured by INEC's promise to redesign the polling booths to try and mitigate it?
We will see if that happens. I mean, yeah, I'm happy to hear that INEC has come up with a strategy on kind of dealing with it from kind of a visual standpoint, right? But it is a significant issue and it's a significant problem. And for me, when I was down in Ekiti State, it's
you were there as well.
I was there, yeah. It's not hidden. I think sometimes about being in Nigeria is that the corruption is not hidden, right? It's there and everyone knows it and everyone's just turning a blind eye to it because, everyone's just, what do you do? And so people will go vote. And then just around the corner, not even in the back, just around to the side, there's a person sitting at a table who's doling out cash of people who are walking up, proving that they're voted.
So you saw that?
Yeah, I would love to tell you that I had to go behind a closed door and then down some steps and deep into a basement. But no, it was right there in the opening. In some places, it was across the street. And that's a challenge because it almost makes the process laughable, right? The fact that I've now turned this into a money-making operation. It's dangerous because it lessens the importance of what a vote is. It lessens the importance of what an election is. The idea that elections can be bought, then why go out and vote?
One of the questions that arises when you look at the scenario and how it plays out, and you look at how the people interact with the process and how the officials interact with the process, at what point does democracy ultimately require a certain level of not just integrity, obviously, but also the issue of literacy rates, the understanding the issues, understanding how to discern officials, for example, some of the issues of morality. At what point does that not have to be present in order to have an effective democratic process?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I always like to tell people is that I'm indoctrinated in the ideal and principles of democracy. There was an article in the, I think it was in the Foreign Policy Press, that said that one of the bad habits of the United States is that we push democracy everywhere, regardless of whatever the situation is. Why? It's because we're indoctrinated in democracy. We watch television shows as children about how the signing of the Constitution, came into being and how the Civil War and all these things have been dramatized to us, that even as a small age of 3, you're watching these things. And then when you go to school, you watch these movies. And so by the time I graduate, everyone can say, life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness, we the people of the United States of America, it's indoctrinated into you. And so there's a level of demand. Yeah, we still have issues, but there's a level of demand. And so when you don't have that, when people don't fully understand what democracy is, it's more than just, when I arrived here, people would say that, under the military, dictatorships, the view was democracy is going to bring economic freedom, we're all going to be rich. Well, it takes a lot more than just moving from a dictatorship to a voting ballot to change the economic situation of a country. And so that's where the leaders come in, that's where the vision. So you do have to have a group of people who understand these things, who kind of, look to these things and really kind of hold their leaders accountable, right? Either through the voting process or going to town halls or speaking out of things that they don't agree with. And really, check making promises, right? If someone comes along and made 5 promises, then, over the course of the 4 years that that person is in office, you should be checkmating them on those 5 promises to ensure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, as you said, we'll wait and see whether what INEC does will eventually stop vote buying, especially as elections approach. We have Oshun coming up in about 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, correct.
Well, we have to thank you most kindly for coming on Sunrise today. Mr. Int'l Barnes is the country director of the International Republican Institute.